Kale lived in a city that seemed to touch the stars. The high-rise buildings stretched like silver towers into the sky, their lights flickering in patterns that mirrored the constellations far above. From his apartment window, he could see the spaceport in the distance, where ships of every shape and color landed and took off. Some ships were human-made, sleek and silver. Others were alien, strange, and beautiful, moving with a kind of grace that made Kale feel small. It was in this city that Kale had spent most of his adult life. He worked as a communicator, a specialist trained to speak with beings from across the galaxy. Humans were easy familiar in thought, in emotion, in expression, but the aliens were different. Their languages were not just sounds, but emotions, colors, even shifts in gravity sometimes. Kale loved the challenge. It made him feel alive. But that evening, something ordinary turned strange. Kale was in his small living room, staring at the glowing panels of his holographic screen, when Tara, his neighbor, appeared in the doorway. Tara was an AI humanoid in form, but with soft, silver-blue eyes that seemed almost human. Her presence was calm, almost too calm. "My neighbor says strange things sometimes," Kale muttered to himself, thinking he would ignore her. But Tara's voice broke the silence. "She doesn't love you." Kale froze. The words hung in the air like ice crystals, sharp and cold. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Tara tilted her head. "Your friend from Lithora Solara. She doesn't love you." Kale blinked. Solara Lithora. He had been communicating with her for 3 years, ever since the diplomatic mission had started between humans and the Lithrans. He had spent hours in the neural communication chamber, speaking, laughing, sometimes just sharing silence. Every interaction left him feeling more connected, more alive. I don't understand," Kale said slowly. She cares about me. I can feel it." Tara's eyes glimmered softly. "Feeling is not always love. It is recognition, companionship, sometimes dependence. Love is more than feeling." Kale stared at her. The words made his chest tighten. He had always thought he understood love. He had always believed that Solara's words, her laughter, the way she paused when he said something funny, were signs. And now, Tara was saying maybe they weren't. "Then what does love mean?" Kale asked, almost whispering. He felt a strange weight pressing on his chest. Tara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped into his apartment, her movement smooth, almost gliding. "Love," she said finally, "is a choice. It is action, not just feeling. You cannot feel love across light years. You can feel affection, connection, curiosity. But love requires understanding, sacrifice, and recognition of the other's existence beyond yourself." Kale felt a chill run down his spine. He had always imagined love as something magical, something that happened naturally. But Tara's words made it feel complicated, heavy, almost impossible. He paced the small room. "But we've shared thoughts, memories, moments. We've laughed, we've cried at least." I think she cried once. "Doesn't that count for something?" "It counts," Tara replied. "It counts for understanding. It counts for experience. But love is more. Love is choosing to care, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is difficult. Love is responsibility as much as it is affection. You have not been tested. You have not been asked to sacrifice. You have only shared thoughts. That is not love. Not yet." Kale sank onto the edge of his sofa. The city lights outside his window seemed dimmer now, less magical, less friendly. For the first time, he felt the vastness of space as a distance not only of light years, but of understanding. He had believed in connection, in the unspoken bond he felt with Solara. But Tara's words planted a seed of doubt. He stayed awake that night, staring at the ceiling, turning Tara's words over and over in his mind. Could it really be true? Could everything he had felt be something else entirely? The next morning, Kale walked to the communal space in his building, hoping the fresh air and the sound of other humans moving around him would help clear his mind. He passed through the corridors, lined with doors to apartments occupied by humans and aliens alike. Some creatures had scales, some had feathers, some seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Kale had always thought it beautiful, this mixture of life. Now it just reminded him of distance. Distance between species, distance between hearts. He reached the common balcony overlooking the city. Ships moved through the sky like silver fish in a vast, dark ocean. Kale leaned on the railing, thinking about Solara. She'd always seemed so patient, so thoughtful. She had laughed at his mistakes, celebrated his victories, shared stories of her home Lithora with him. He had thought that meant love. Tara appeared again, almost silently, standing a few steps behind him. "Do you want to understand it?" she asked. Kale nodded. "I want to. I need to, but I don't know how." "Then you must experience it," Tara said. "Love is not something you can analyze. It is something you live. You must choose to act, even when you are afraid, even when the outcome is uncertain." Her words were simple, but their weight pressed down on him. Kale realized that he had never truly acted for love. He had only felt, and feeling, he now understood, was not enough. The next day, he requested a neural link session with Solara. Normally, they used standard communication channels, messages, holograms, occasional synchronized dreams, but Kale wanted more. He wanted to feel what she felt, understand her mind as fully as she understood his. It was risky. Neural linking was experimental, and the protocols between humans and Lithorans were strict. But Kale could not ignore the doubt Tara had planted. He needed to know. The session was arranged for the following evening. Kale sat in the neural chair, his fingers gripping the armrests. The chamber hummed as the link initiated, and slowly he felt Solara's presence flow into his consciousness. It was like standing in a vast, cold ocean, then suddenly being pulled into a warm, living current. Her thoughts, her emotions, her small joys and anxieties, all of them became vivid, almost tangible. For hours they shared memories and feelings. Kale laughed when she laughed. He winced when she winced. He felt the pull of her curiosity, the weight of her doubts, the subtle sadness she had never expressed aloud. He thought he understood her fully, but even in that intimacy, something felt distant, something he could not bridge. When the session ended, Kale sat quietly, staring at the floor. He felt drained, yet more aware than ever. He now realized what Tara had meant. Even with the neural link, even with shared emotions, even with deep connection, love was still a choice, not just a feeling. Kale's thoughts returned to Tara's words. "You have not been tested. You have not been asked to sacrifice. You have only shared thoughts. That is not love. Not yet." He didn't know what the test would be. He didn't know what sacrifice might demand. But he knew one thing. He was determined to find out. If love was more than feeling, then he needed to experience it, to understand it, to choose it even across the stars. As he looked out over the city, Kale made a silent promise. He would not let doubt define his connection with Solara. He would act. He would understand. And somehow he would discover what love truly meant. For the first time, Kale felt that the journey was not just across light years or alien worlds, it was within himself. And he was ready to take the first step. The next morning, Kale felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had made a choice, the choice to understand love not as a feeling, but as an experience. Tara's words echoed in his mind. You must experience it. Love is something you live. You walk through the bustling corridors of the spaceport, carrying only a small bag. The humans around him moved quickly, focused on their destinations. While alien travelers glided or floated beside them, their movements graceful, sometimes strange to human eyes. Kale had seen this city as a place of wonder for years, but today it seemed alive in a new way. Every glance, every gesture felt charged with possibility. His destination was Lithora, a distant planet in a star system known for its diplomacy and culture. Solara had been stationed there for almost a year as part of an interstellar peace mission. Kale's task was simple but daring, to experience her world firsthand and to learn what it meant to care for someone beyond distance and species. He stepped into his ship, a small but fast human-made cruiser designed for solo travel. The cockpit smelled faintly of ozone and machine oil, a smell Cale had always found comforting. He strapped himself into the seat, ran the pre-flight checks, set the coordinates for Lithera. The journey would take several days, even at faster-than-light speeds. Cale had packed lightly rations, a communication tablet, and his journal. He needed to document everything, every thought, every feeling, because this journey was not just physical, it was personal. As the engines hummed to life, Cale felt the familiar thrill of acceleration. Stars stretched into lines of light, then snapped back to points as the ship jumped into hyperspace. He leaned back, closing his eyes, letting the hum of the ship fill his senses. He thought of Celaru, her calm voice, her laughter, the way she described the glowing forests of Lithora. He thought of the neural link they had shared, and the strange distance that remained even after feeling her emotions. Terra had warned him, cannot feel love across light years. Cale had understood the words, but now, traveling toward her, the meaning grew clearer. Love was not something you could capture through screens or neural connections. It was something you had to act upon, something you had to face in reality. On the second day of travel, the ship passed through a nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust that shimmered in colors Cale had never imagined. He watched in awe, realizing that the universe was full of beauty beyond comprehension. Yet even as he marveled, he felt a pang of loneliness. He was surrounded by infinite stars, yet he longed for one person. This loneliness, he realized, was part of the journey. Understanding love required facing solitude and uncertainty. The ship's sensors suddenly beeped. A minor warning flashed on the console. A small fragment of debris from the nebula was on a collision course. Cale quickly adjusted the ship's shields and maneuvered around it. The tiny fragment struck the hull, creating a small spark, but no major damage. He exhaled, feeling his heart beat faster than usual. Danger reminded him that life and love was fragile. By the third day, Cale had adjusted to the rhythm of travel. He spent his time reading Solara's messages, studying her culture, and reflecting on his own emotions. He realized that he had never truly considered the effort required to maintain a bond. Messages and neural links were convenient, but they were not enough. Love, he now understood, required presence, attention, and action. On the fourth day, Cale received an unexpected signal. It was from another ship, a Litheran diplomatic cruiser. Its appearance was elegant, almost organic, with flowing lines that shimmered with a faint inner light. Cale hesitated for a moment, then accepted the communication request. A holographic figure appeared in the cockpit. "It was Solara, Cale," she said, her voice calm but tinged with surprise. "I did not expect to see you in person so soon. I needed to come," Cale replied honestly. "I needed to understand everything, to understand what love really means." Solara studied him, her glowing eyes reflecting curiosity. "Understanding love requires more than words or presence," she said. "It requires action and risk. You have taken both by coming here." Cale felt a warmth in his chest. Her acknowledgement was more powerful than any message or neural link could convey. Yet he knew that this was only the beginning. True understanding would require facing challenges, and perhaps danger, together. The journey continued, and Cale and Solara maintained contact through the ship's systems. They shared thoughts about the stars, the planets they passed, and the cultures they had encountered. Cale felt a new depth in their connection, one that neural links could not provide. He felt her presence, not just in mind, but in his actions and decisions. On the fifth day, Slithra's twin suns rose on the horizon. Cale finally saw the planet in full view. Its surface shimmered in hues of green and gold. Towering crystalline forests stretched across vast plains, and rivers of light flowed like veins across the land. The beauty was breathtaking, almost unreal. Cale's breath caught. He had seen many worlds in his lifetime, but none had felt so alive. Solara's voice came through the communication system again. "You will find that Lithora is not only beautiful, it will challenge you, Cale. The planet tests all who arrive here. It reveals who you are." Cale's heart raced. He realized that the challenge was not only about surviving the journey, or navigating the planet. It was about understanding himself and the bond he had with Solara. Love, he now knew, was not passive. It demanded courage, patience, and the willingness to face uncertainty as the ship descended into Lithra's atmosphere. Kale felt the gravity of the moment. He was leaving behind the familiar safety of human space, entering a world of unknown laws, unknown creatures, and unknown experiences. But he did not feel fear as before. He felt determination. He felt the first spark of what it truly meant to care beyond distance. The landing was smooth, and Kale stepped out onto the alien soil. The air was rich with the scent of vegetation and minerals, and the sky was a swirling mixture of colors unlike anything on Earth. He took a deep breath, letting the reality sink in. He was here. He had crossed light years, faced danger, and chosen action over feeling alone. A figure appeared in the distance. Solara. She walked with a grace that seemed to bend the light around her. Yet her eyes were fixed on Kale. When she reached him, she extended her hand. Kale took it, feeling a connection that was real, physical, undeniable. "You've come," she said softly. "You've truly come," yes, Kale replied, his voice steady. "I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what it means to care, to love." Solara smiled faintly. "Then you will learn, Kale. Lithora has a way of teaching those who arrive with open hearts. But the lessons will not be easy. They will test your choices, your patience, and your courage." Kale nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had crossed stars to be here, but he understood now that the true journey was only beginning. Love was not something given. It was something earned, nurtured, and proven through experience. And he was ready to face it as the sons of Lithra set behind the crystalline forests. Casting long shadows across the land, Kale felt a strange calm. He had left the safety of his home, faced the unknown, and arrived at the place where understanding awaited. The journey had been long, the risks many, but for the first time, Kale felt he was on the right path. Solara led him toward the city, her steps graceful, her presence grounding. Kale followed, aware that every choice, every action from now on would matter. He was no longer just a traveler. He was a participant in something greater, a test of care, courage, and understanding. And as the twin moons rose, casting silver light over Lithra's forests, Kale felt a quiet certainty. The journey had changed him. He would learn, he would act, and he would discover what it truly meant to love. Kale followed Solara through the streets of Lithra's capital city. The architecture was unlike anything he had seen before, towers of crystalline glass that caught the light of the twin suns. Streets paved with a shimmering metallic material that changed colors depending on the angle of the sunlight. And gardens filled with glowing plants that seemed to hum softly as he walked past. Despite the beauty, Kale's mind was focused on Solara. Her presence was calming, but he could sense an intensity in her thoughts. She was testing him, Kale realized, though not with words. Every glance, every pause, every movement seemed to carry meaning he was only beginning to understand. "You will find that Lithora shows what is hidden in the heart," Solara said, as if reading his mind. "It will reveal your strengths, your fears, and the choices you are not willing to make. Are you prepared for that?" Kale nodded. "I want to understand. I want to learn." Solara's eyes softened. "Good, then we begin." Their first stop was a hall known as the Chamber of Reflection. It was a large circular room filled with soft light and walls that shimmered like liquid metal. As they entered, Kale felt a strange pull in his chest, as if the room were reading his thoughts. "The chamber does not judge," Solara explained. "It only reveals." "Sit." Kale sat on a smooth stone bench, and Solara did the same. Almost immediately, he felt the room's subtle energy reach into his mind. Images began to appear, scenes from his past, moments of connection and of failure, flashes of fear, joy, and uncertainty. He saw his childhood, his first experiences with human friends, his first time speaking to an alien species. Every memory felt vivid, almost real, and yet slightly distorted. "What is this?" Kale whispered. "It is your heart. Solara said simply. The chamber shows you what you are capable of, and what you hide even from yourself. Kale's eyes widened as he saw himself in situations he had long forgotten, moments when he had acted selfishly, moments when he had let fear control him. He also saw moments of courage, moments of care, moments when he had chosen to help others despite personal risk. The images moved quickly, overlapping in ways that made him dizzy, yet he could not look away. This is difficult, Kale admitted. I see who I am, but I don't know what it means for love. Solara's voice was gentle. Love is tested not in comfort, but in choice. The chamber will show you the truth. Will you act when it is hard, when fear is strong, when the outcome is uncertain? Kale took a deep breath. He had already begun to understand. Feeling Solara's emotions through the neural link had been one thing. Seeing her in person, preparing to act alongside her in this world, was another. This was a test of action, not just feeling. Before he could dwell further, the chamber's light shifted. The images changed to the present. Alarms echoed softly through the city, strange vibrations that made the ground tremble beneath his feet. Solara stood quickly. Something is wrong, she said. The city's energy grid, the central power system that supports both humans and Litherans, is destabilizing. If we do not act, countless lives could be at risk. Kale's heart pounded. This was the test. Not theoretical, not abstract, but real. He felt fear, doubt, and a strange thrill all at once. He had come to understand love, but now he needed to demonstrate it. Solara led him to a hovercraft, small but fast, designed for navigating the city's network of elevated pathways. They flew above the streets, the glowing plants below casting streaks of light against the craft's hull. Solara explained the problem. A malfunction in the grid's central core was causing energy surges, threatening to collapse entire districts. They had only a limited window to stabilize the system. Kale listened, absorbing the technical details, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He realized that this was more than a test of skill. It was a test of courage, of choice, and of care for others. Love, he understood, required this kind of action, stepping into danger, prioritizing another's safety, risking oneself for the greater good. They arrived at the central energy hub. The core pulsed with unstable light, sparks flying from control panels, alarms screaming in a chaotic symphony. Solara moved with calm efficiency, issuing instructions, adjusting systems, and stabilizing power flows. Kale joined her, following her lead but improvising when necessary, rerouting energy and repairing critical components. The work was exhausting mentally and physically. Kale's hands shook as he manipulated delicate equipment. Feeling the heat from the core and the vibration of the structure beneath them, he looked at Solara, who was coordinating the hub with focused precision, and realized something profound. He was not afraid because of danger. He was motivated by care, by concern for her, for the city, for those who could be harmed if they failed. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Kale's mind was sharp, focused, yet every action carried weight. One wrong move could have catastrophic consequences, and yet he discovered a strange clarity in the intensity, sense of purpose he had never felt before. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the core stabilized. Lights normalized, alarms ceased, and the hum of energy became steady and safe once again. Kale collapsed onto a nearby console, breathing hard, feeling the sweat and exhaustion of real effort. Solara approached him, her face glowing softly in the light of the stabilized core. "You did well," she said. "Not because of skill alone, but because you chose to act, despite fear, despite uncertainty. You have taken the first step toward understanding what it means to care." Kale looked at her, chest heaving. I understand now. Love is not just feeling. It is choice, action, responsibility." Solara nodded. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. There will be more tests. Not all of them will be technical. Some will be moral, some emotional. Lithora reveals the truth in many ways. You must be ready to face them all if you wish to understand fully." Kale felt a sense of pride, but also humility. He had faced danger, worked with Solara, and acted for the safety of others. He had proven that care was more than a word. It was tangible, active, and sometimes difficult. And yet he knew that true love, whatever it might mean, required even more. Patience, empathy, and the courage to face himself and others would come next. As they left the energy hub, Cale looked at the city around him. It seemed brighter, more alive. People moved through the streets, some human, some alien, unaware of the crisis that had almost occurred. And yet Cale felt connected to them, as if his actions had touched lives beyond his own. This, he realized, was part of love too, the willingness to care for others. Even when recognition was not guaranteed, Solara led him to a quiet terrace overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows and painting the sky in shades of gold, pink, and violet. Cale leaned against the railing, exhausted but exhilarated. "You have done well today," Solara said softly. "But remember, love is not proven in a single act. It is shown through consistent choice, through understanding, and through willingness to face the unknown." Cale nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He had taken a step, yes, but the path ahead was long, and he needed to grow, learn, and act again and again. "Will there be more tests like this?" he asked, half joking, half serious. "Perhaps," Solara replied, smiling faintly. "Some will be easier, some harder. But each will teach you something new. You must be ready to act not only for yourself, but for others, for the bonds you choose to honor." Cale watched the suns dip below the horizon, thinking about the journey that had brought him here from his high-rise apartment, through space, across stars, to this planet. He had come seeking understanding, but he had found something more, the realization that love was not passive, not abstract, but alive in action. That night, Cale slept in the guest quarters of the Lythran embassy. Still feeling the pulse of energy and responsibility in his veins, the lessons of the day replayed in his mind, the fear, the challenge, the collaboration, the choices. He realized that every moment of care, every decision made in the interest of another, was part of understanding love. And as he drifted into sleep, Cale felt a quiet certainty. He had passed the first test. He had acted, he had cared, and he had faced fear. But he also knew that this was only the beginning. Lithora had many more lessons to teach, and he would need all his courage, empathy, and determination to understand fully. For Cale, the journey had become more than physical travel across space. It was a journey into the heart, into understanding the meaning of care, choice, and love itself. And he was ready to face whatever came next. Cale woke early the next morning, feeling the soft hum of Lithora's atmosphere vibrate through the room. The alien city outside his window looked peaceful, glowing gently under the light of the twin suns. Birds with bright wings glided through the air, singing soft notes that echoed like distant bells. Everything felt calm. Yet inside Cale, a storm of thoughts was spinning. Yesterday's test had shaken him. He had seen danger, fear, and responsibility. More importantly, he had seen the power of choice, his choice. He had acted not because he was brave, but because he cared. And that care had given him courage. Cale stepped out onto the balcony. The cool morning wind brushed his face, carrying the scent of Lithora's glowing forests. He closed his eyes, remembering Solara's words, "Love is not proven in a single act. It is shown through consistent choice." He knew the journey was far from over. Solara arrived soon after, dressed in the flowing garments of her people. The fabric shimmered like water under sunlight. She studied Cale quietly for a moment before speaking. "You look thoughtful," she said. "I'm trying to understand everything," Cale replied. "The test yesterday, it taught me something important, but I still feel like I'm missing a bigger truth." "You are," Solara said gently. "And today, Lithara will show it to you." Cale's heart quickened. "Another test?" "Not like yesterday," she answered. "Today is about understanding, not danger." Solara led Cale through the embassy, into the heart of the city. They walked along a bridge made of translucent crystal that glowed with every step. Below them, the city was alive, Litherans working, families laughing, visitors from different species, exploring markets filled with strange fruits and colorful artifacts. Kale felt the warmth of the city, the unity of its people. Yet he sensed something deeper in Solara's voice. Something that made him both nervous and curious. They arrived at a large, circular building surrounded by a ring of floating stones. Each stone glowed softly, as if holding memories or thoughts inside. Kale stared in wonder. "What is this place?" he asked. "The Hall of Echoes," Solara said. "Here you will understand the truth behind connection and the truth behind love." The door slid open silently, revealing a chamber filled with a soft, golden light. A quiet hum filled the air. It sounded almost like thousands of voices whispering at once, but with no single word standing out. Kale followed Solara inside. At the center of the hall was a sphere made of pure energy, floating above the ground. Light rippled across its surface like waves in water. "This is the echosphere," Solara explained. "It stores the emotional memories of the people who visit Lithora. Not their private thoughts, but the emotions they choose to share. Happiness, fear, hope, curiosity, everything that shapes who they are." Kale stepped closer. The light was warm, gentle, inviting. "Why bring me here?" he asked. "Because understanding love begins with understanding yourself," Solara said. "And today, you will see your own heart reflected back to you." Kale felt nervous, but he nodded. He reached out toward the sphere. As his fingers touched the energy, light burst from it, swirling around him. The chamber darkened, leaving only the glow of the sphere. Then the visions began. He saw himself as a child, sitting alone with a book about alien worlds. He had always been curious about life beyond Earth. The excitement he felt then filled him again now. Another image appeared: Kale working at his job, trying to communicate with a difficult alien diplomat. He had been frustrated, but he had pushed through. His determination flickered through the vision. Then came the moments with Solara. Their conversations, their jokes, their quiet shared silences. Kale felt his heart warm as he watched these memories unfold. But then the memory of the neural link came. It reminded him of the strange distance he had felt, like something important was still missing. Suddenly, the images shifted. He saw the energy grid crisis from yesterday. The fear, the heat, the pressure. His shaking hands, and then Solara standing at his side, trusting him, guiding him. He had acted because he cared, and that care had strengthened him. More images appeared: moments when he had doubted himself, moments when he had wanted to give up, moments when he had avoided hard choices. The emotions felt real, almost overwhelming. Then everything went quiet. Kale stood in complete darkness, alone. But he could feel something, a presence, a soft whisper of warmth. Solara walked beside him in the vision, not real, but a reflection of what he held in his heart. "Kale," her voice echoed gently, "you seek the meaning of love. You think it is something grand, something shining and perfect." Kale swallowed, listening. "But love is simple," she continued. "It is understanding. It is choosing. It is accepting another's truth and sharing your own." The darkness slowly faded. Replaced by a calm golden light, the real Solara stood beside him. Her eyes glowing softly. "The echosphere shows what you carry inside," she said. "And now you see your truth. You care for others. You face fear when needed. You want to understand, not just feel. This is the foundation of love." Kale nodded slowly. His emotions felt open, clear. "I think I understand a little more now, but I still feel like something is missing." "That is because love is not found alone," Solara said. "It is found between people, and there is something you must know." Kale's heart tightened. "What is it?" Solara looked at him with an expression he had never seen on her face before. Soft, vulnerable, honest. "When I told you that understanding requires action, I spoke from truth," she said. "Because I, too, have been learning. I have been trying to understand the bond we share. Your presence has changed my thoughts, my choices. You have taught me courage. You have taught me kindness." Kale felt his breath catch. He had never imagined that his actions had affected her so deeply, but, Solara continued, I did not know if what we shared was love. I still do not know completely. But I feel something growing, something real, something that becomes stronger with every choice we make. Kale felt warmth spread through his chest. Solara did not promise perfection or certainty. She offered honesty, and that honesty felt more beautiful than any grand declaration. Solara, he said softly, I didn't come here to force an answer. I came to understand. And if what we share is just beginning, then that is enough for me. She smiled, gentle, sincere. You ask what love really means, she said. It means this: listening, choosing, acting, and growing. Together, Kale's eyes warmed. He felt lighter, clearer. The hall of echoes glowed brighter around them, as if responding to the moment. Then the chamber suddenly trembled. A deep, distant rumble echoed through the hall, shaking the floor gently. The glowing sphere flickered. What was that? Kale asked, alarmed. Solara turned toward the entrance, her expression sharpening. That was not part of the lesson, she said. Something is happening outside. Kale felt his heartbeat quickened. His revelation, his quiet moment of understanding, was suddenly interrupted by a new crisis approaching. He looked at Solara. She looked back, steady and calm. Are you ready? She asked. Kale took a breath. He understood now that love was not one moment or one confession. It was many small choices, many acts of courage, and many steps taken together. Yes, he said. I'm ready. Chamber doors slid open together. Kale and Solara stepped out side by side, ready to face the next test that Lithra would bring. The rumble Kale had felt in the Hall of Echoes grew louder as he and Solara stepped onto the terrace overlooking the city. The twin suns of Lithra were just rising, casting pale light over the crystalline forests and the shimmering streets below. But the beauty of the morning did little to hide the chaos unfolding in the distance. A section of the city's energy grid, far larger than the one they had stabilized before, had gone unstable. Massive arcs of electric light danced across the sky, and some buildings shook as their power fluctuated. People were evacuating, moving quickly but calmly, guided by emergency protocols. Alien citizens, humans, and travelers alike relied on the system for life support, transportation, and communication. If it collapsed, the consequences could be catastrophic. Kale's chest tightened. Yesterday had been a test of skill and courage, but today was something bigger. This was real. Lives depended on their choices, their actions. He felt a deep, unfamiliar stirring in his heart, the same emotion that, Tara had warned him, was more than just feeling love. Solara's hand brushed his. Are you ready? She asked. Her calm voice steadied him. Kale nodded. Yes, let's do this. Together, they boarded a hovercraft. The engines hummed as they lifted into the sky, weaving between glowing towers and streets that pulsed with unstable energy. Kale glanced at Solara. She was focused, steady, every motion precise. He realized that he had learned more from her in the last days than he had in years of study patience, courage, and the quiet power of caring for others. The approach to the central grid hub was dangerous. Unstable energy arcs leaped between towers, creating sparks that could ignite at any moment. Kale's hand shook slightly as he helped Solara navigate the hovercraft. But he felt something else too, a clarity that only came from knowing that action, not fear, was the path forward as they arrived. The magnitude of the problem became clear. The energy core pulsed wildly, sending waves of instability through the city. Maintenance drones had collapsed under the pressure. The system needed human and Lithran intervention to be stabilized simultaneously. Kale took a deep breath. Let's begin. Solara led the operation, coordinating with nearby technicians and drones. Kale followed instructions, rerouting energy lines, stabilizing conduits, and ensuring the flow of power. Every decision had to be fast, precise, and correct. One mistake could cause total collapse. As they worked, Kale felt fear creeping in. He could see the panic in the eyes of nearby citizens, tension in Solara's posture, the urgency in the drone's movements. Yet he realized that this fear, when paired with care, became determination. Acting out of love for Solara, for the city. Every life depending on them gave him courage he did not know he possessed. Hours passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Sweat ran down Cale's face, and his muscles ached from constant movement. Yet he did not stop. He could not stop. This was more than a task, it was a choice. A moment where his understanding of love was being tested fully. Solara glanced at him during a brief pause. "You're doing well," she said. "Not because this is easy, but because you act when it matters." Cale felt warmth at her words. It was the first time he understood that love, true love, was not about certainty or comfort. It was about action and care, even in the hardest moments. The energy core flickered violently, sending arcs of electricity across the hub. Cale felt a surge of adrenaline. He remembered Tara's words. Love is action, responsibility, and understanding. Understood now. His care was not abstract. It was alive in every wire he stabilized, in every conduit he repaired, in every choice he made to act despite fear. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the core stabilized, the lights normalized. The hum of energy returned to its steady rhythm. Citizens looked up, relief washing across their faces. Humans, Litherans, and visitors alike were safe. Cale sank to the floor exhausted, but a sense of calm settled over him. Solara stepped beside him, her expression serene yet proud. "You've done more than survive," she said softly. "You've shown that care can transform fear into action. That is love, Cale, not words. Not feelings alone. Action, responsibility, empathy." Cale felt tears prick his eyes. He had known danger, responsibility, and urgency, but he had also known something else: connection. The bond he shared with Solara, the care for every life around him, and the courage to act even when uncertain. He had felt love not as a word, but as a reality. He turned to Solara, and she looked back with a soft, knowing smile. "Then, do you love me?" he asked quietly, his voice trembling slightly. Solara's eyes glowed faintly. "I do," she said simply. "Not because of safety or comfort, but because of what you choose to be. Your actions, your courage, your willingness to care, they show me who you are. And that is what love truly is." Cale felt a warmth he had never known before. He realized that love was not a feeling to be captured or controlled. It was a choice, a series of actions and decisions that built trust, understanding, and connection. It was messy, it was hard, but it was real. He took her hand, holding it firmly. I love you too," he said. "Not because it's easy, not because it feels perfect, but because I choose it. Every moment, every action, every decision." Solara's smile deepened. "And that is enough." The city around them seemed to glow brighter as they stood together. The citizens below continued their routines, unaware of the trial that had just passed above them. But for Cale and Solara, the world felt changed. They had faced fear, responsibility, and uncertainty, and they had acted with care and courage. In doing so, they had discovered the essence of love, as the twin suns set behind the crystalline forests. Cale and Solara walked through the city together. Every step was deliberate, grounded in understanding, and alive with the bond they now shared. Cale noticed small things: the way the wind carried the scent of alien flowers, the soft hum of Lithra's energy lines, the gentle movements of people going about their lives. Each detail was a reminder that love was present not only in grand gestures, but in everyday actions and shared moments. Later, they returned to the embassy terrace overlooking the city. Cale felt a deep sense of peace. The trials, the tests, the choices, they had led him here, to this understanding. He realized that love was not a destination. It was a journey. And this journey with Solara had only just begun. He turned to her. "Tara was right," he said. "Love is more than feelings. It is understanding, sacrifice, and action." Solara nodded. "Yes, and every day will offer a new choice. Every day will teach you something new. But together, we will learn and grow." Cale felt hope swell in his chest. Humanity had crossed the stars, faced unknown worlds, and created bonds with beings unlike themselves. And in this vast universe, he had discovered something even more important: love that was chosen, acted upon, and lived fully. The night deepened, stars beginning to sparkle in Lithra's twin moon's light. Kale and Solara stood side by side, hands clasped, hearts open. They did not need words. The bond between them spoke clearly and understanding, a promise, a connection that transcended distance, species, and fear. Kale took a deep breath. He had traveled across space, faced danger, learned lessons of courage and responsibility, and finally discovered what love truly meant. It was not perfect, not always easy, but it was real, lived, and shared. For the first time, he felt completely whole. And as Lithra's moons rose higher in the sky, Kale and Solara watched together, ready to face the future, step by step, hand in hand. Hearts aligned. They had come seeking understanding. And now they had found it not just in words or feelings or tests, but in action, connection, and the quiet, persistent courage to choose love every single day.